Hello everyone, welcome back. I hope everyone is having a great Friday. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already to show your support to the channel. I have another unsolved case for you all today. We are on case number 26 now, and let me tell you, this one is going to be incredibly frustrating. I will go ahead and put up my disclaimer on the screen now if you guys are watching this on YouTube. I'm not going to beat around the bush. This case is going to irritate you, mostly because it offers hundreds of questions and zero answers. And on top of that, there's honestly barely any coverage on this case, which is probably the main reason why I chose this one to cover. As you all can probably tell by now, I don't choose these cases to get the most views. If I was doing all of this just to get views, I would be covering the cases that everyone and their mother have covered, like JonBenet Ramsey, Madeleine McCann, Gabby Petito, for example, and honestly, I probably will never cover those cases. I am a full-fledged believer that every single case deserves to be talked about and covered no matter what. And every single time I come across an unsolved case that barely has any articles or coverage, it shatters me because I think about the victims and their families and how broken they all are because they've lost their loved one in these horrific ways and don't have any answers as to what happened to them. And who knows, maybe by me talking about these lesser known cases, the right person ends up watching and comes forward with information, then the case could be solved and these victims can finally get justice. It takes just one person to come forward to solve a case, and this is one out of millions that needs to be solved. So let's get into it. This is the unsolved murder of Paula Ivy George. Paula Sue Ivy George was born on October 8th, 1968 in Dimmitt, Texas to Paul and Sue Ivy. I see exactly where she got her full name from. She grew up alongside a brother and sister in the Texas-Oklahoma Panhandle area and graduated from Dimmitt High School in 1987. Paula, from day one, was a very family-oriented person. The most important thing in her life was her family. She attended a couple of different colleges and eventually found herself moving to Oklahoma to attend Northwestern State University. Paula Ivy George is the definition of a true country girl. She absolutely loved animals and would do anything to help an animal if one was in need. If an animal needed to find a home, Paula would be the first one to offer to adopt it. No questions asked. But her favorite type of animal was by far horses. She loved everything about them. She loved riding them, showing them at horse shows, and I read that she even registered herself as a horse massage therapist. I didn't even know that a horse massage therapist existed, but Paula registered as one. Along with horses, she would also show cattle, sheep, and goats. She also volunteered to help children complete 4-H and FFA projects. Her volunteer work for these programs only intensified when Paula became a mother herself. By early 2000s, Paula had become a loving mother to 3 sons, Skeet, Trey, and Justin. If anyone had anything to say about Paula other than her being an animal lover, was that she was an amazing mother to her boys. Her sons adored her just as much as she adored them. Once her sons began attending school, Paula became extremely active within the school community as well, and even became a school board member for a while. Paula was a busy and hardworking mother. She took on several odd jobs to be able to support her children. She was a plant manager for a while and worked as an electrician, and she even started a small company herself making lotions and soaps called JPEG Goat Suds. She was also a faithful member of the Wichita United Methodist Church, a church that she had been a part of for many years. Paula had accomplished so much in her life. She had always been so determined to be able to provide for her children and give them the best possible life that she could. With all that we know about Paula, how kind and helpful she was to anyone that would ask, it just brings up the big question: who on earth would have wanted to murder Paula Ivy George? That brings us to the night of April 30th, 2013. Paula's home was located between Manchester and Wichita, Oklahoma, at the intersection of Kiowa Road and Highway 132. This home was the only home in this intersection area at the time. People would often use Highway 132 to get to their destinations, as this was the highway where the oil fields were located and a lot of local traffic was coming back and forth during this period of time. The Manchester and Wichita community were a close-knit community, and it has been reported that people who knew Paula would often glance at the corner home as they drove by, as they knew Paula lived alone with just her 3 sons in the house. Between approximately 10:30 p.m. and midnight, someone walked onto the porch of Paula's home. Paula was lying down in her bed, probably relaxing after a long day, or she possibly could have already been asleep for the night. The person from outside stood on the porch, found the window of Paula's bedroom, and began shooting through the bedroom window multiple times. Paula was hit with multiple bullets during this attack and quickly died in her bed from the multiple gunshot wounds. The assailant fled the scene immediately after the attack, and to this day, after 11 years, this killer has not been caught. Unfortunately, due to there being such little information available online about this case, there are a lot of pieces of this puzzle missing. I, for one, have a shit ton of questions, and it's so frustrating that there are just no answers. Investigators believe that this murder was most likely a premeditated murder because the killer seemed to know the exact layout of the home. This was a very quick attack. This person walked onto the porch, went immediately to Paula's bedroom window, shot through the window to kill Paula, and then left the scene. So it's widely believed that whoever killed Paula Ivy George was someone that she knew. What's even more frustrating is that the people in the area claim that they frequently would glance at the house anytime they drove by, but conveniently on the night of Paula's murder, no one ever came forward to police and said that they saw anything that night. Highway 132 was a very busy intersection during this time. People drove back and forth on this road all day and night long. Most people who know about this case, investigators included, believe that someone must have driven past the home during the shooting. Someone had to have witnessed the attack that night. Based on the amount of traffic that this intersection had on a daily basis, it's impossible to believe that between the approximate time of Paula's murder, between 10:30 and 12, that out of every person who drove past that house didn't see or hear anything. No one saw the shooter running away. No one heard the several gunshots. That's an impossibility. Since multiple shots were fired, I do wonder if there were more than just one killer. If different shell casings were found at the scene, then that's another possibility. This murder could have been committed by more than one individual. I just can't get over how no witnesses have come forward. That part of this case is just so unbelievable to me. I wish I could give you all some answers for this case. I really do. But the only resource I have for my research is the internet. And I promise you that there's just so little of this case available online. This case probably has the least amount of information available than any other case I have covered on this channel. But Paula Ivy George and her family still don't have justice. There are no leads as far as I can tell. No suspect has ever been questioned or arrested. A $5,000 reward is being offered to any person who can provide any prominent information that leads to this case being solved. But like I said, this case just turned 11 years old and no one has still come forward. I truly hope by talking about Paula's case, it can eventually lead to further developments. I know investigators are still working on the case even though it's cold. There are just so many questions. When the murder was occurring, where were Paula's 3 sons? I know she was single during the time of her murder and her sons did live with her. So were they also in the house while their mother was being shot through her bedroom window? Paula was such a kind-hearted person. I can't imagine that a person like her had any type of enemies, let alone someone who hated her so much that they would premeditate her murder. I also want to know basic information. What type of gun was used to kill Paula? Was it some sort of pistol or a shotgun? Was there any DNA evidence left at the scene? I imagine probably not, since it was a very fast-paced murder, but still, there's just no information that I was able to find that says evidence was found at the scene, except of course the shell casings that were left. I also would like to know, even though it's horrible, but I would like to know the results of Paula's autopsy. How many bullets entered her body? What was her exact cause of death? These details are important to know. We as the public need to understand the brutality of Paula's death. There is a killer still out there living their life as if they didn't take Paula's. She was 44 years old when she was murdered. This monster left 3 young boys without their doting mother. Paula's mother, Sue, has never stopped looking for answers as to what happened to her daughter. No parent should ever have to bury their child. Sue has begged for someone to come forward with information, and for over a decade, she has been met with silence. Here is a clip I found of Sue talking a little bit about her daughter's case, along with a man named Jerry Oliver, who has researched Paula's case.
We live in a very rural area. Everybody's very friendly and kind to each other. That's what is so difficult with coping with this happening.
There are people in Grant County who know what happened. With the $5,000 reward, this case will be solved.
I know someone noticed someone there that evening that was a little different. If you have information or hear of something you think might be important, please contact Sheriff Scott Scarling at 580-278-5741 or send him an email at admin@grantcountysheriff.org.
It's my opinion that this case can and will be solved, and that Paula cannot be forgotten.
Please help us. Don't let someone else end up murdered also. If you have information, please let someone know.
I'm sorry that this case didn't have as many details as my usual deep dive cases. I know a lot of you enjoy hearing about the longer cases. When I write a case down in my notebook for cases I want to cover, I never know how long the case actually ends up being until I start researching. Some cases have so many details available that it's impossible to fit into one video, and then we have cases like this that hardly have anything available, and I think that's incredibly disrespectful to Paula and her family. I know her family is desperate for answers. They are desperate to have her killer or killers brought to justice. If anyone has any information about this case, even if it seems irrelevant or unimportant, please don't hesitate to report what you know. As Sue had stated, please contact the Grant County Sheriff's Department at 580-278-5741 or email admin@grantcountysheriff.org. And remember, you can contact anonymously. You do not have to reveal who you are. If you know anything that could help bring Paula Ivy George's murderer to justice, please take that initiative. If not for Paula, then definitely for her family and loved ones who deserve to know the truth. But that is unfortunately everything I was able to find for this case. I know that this case was shorter than normal, but I promise that the next case will definitely be a true deep dive case. If you liked this video, please like and share. Comment down below your thoughts on this one if you have any theories. I do want to see them. But I will catch you guys next week for a new true crime news segment. But until then, stay safe out there. Bye guys.